Hey, Centerville Church, it's Pastor Ellen. You know, in the news today, in office spaces, and even around the dinner tables, so much of our conversation right now has to do with this idea of reopening. We're asking those questions, should we, shouldn't we? When we do, what are the new guidelines going to be? When is that going to happen? And, you know, the truth is, we really don't have a straightforward playbook for this. It's not like it happens on a regular basis, and so we know what to expect. We're kind of writing the book as we go here. And as we look at reopening, it feels like we're stepping into a new phase of uncharted territory. And I have to say, it reminds me so much of the story of the Israelites following Moses out of Egypt and that time of wandering in the wilderness, right? They had left behind life as they knew it, and they set off on this journey towards something new. And they had no idea how long they were going to be in the wilderness, or what they were ultimately going to do in the wilderness, where they were going to end up. But they also knew that they didn't go alone. You know, the presence of God followed after them and went before them, making a way and guiding them in the unknown. And you know, there's this moment in their story that feels like where we are today. You know, just before the Red Sea was parted by Moses, the Israelites were really struggling in the wilderness. I mean, they were struggling. They were grieving the life that they had lost. They were afraid. They just didn't see a clear way forward. And all they wanted to do was to go back to Egypt, to go back to the way things used to be. With Pharaoh's army closing in on one side and then the Red Sea blocking their path on the other, it seemed like they were surrounded by danger. There just wasn't a clear way forward. And you know, this is one of those places in the Bible that Pastor Will mentioned in his sermon on Sunday, places where we hear that phrase, do not be afraid, right? God says to the Israelites, do not be afraid. Stand firm and see the deliverance that the Lord will accomplish for you today. God doesn't tell Moses the nuts and the bolts of exactly how the Red Sea is going to be parted and how that deliverance is going to come. I don't think that's the point of this story. But what God does say is, you know, hold your hand out, part the sea, do not be afraid, stand firm, I've got you. And you know, just like the Israelites, we don't know what deliverance is going to look like. We don't know how that deliverance from this season will come necessarily, but we know that God's got us. We know that God is going to make a way. So do not be afraid. Stand firm and see the deliverance that the Lord will accomplish for you and for us today. And you know, the part of this scripture that has really caught me, has really captivated my attention, is actually that phrase, stand firm. Because I found myself asking the question, stand firm in what? Right now, it is so easy to say, I'm standing firm in my perspective or in my opinion, or I'm standing firm in what I want to see happen. But instead, I want to challenge you this day to stand firm in your commitment to follow the general rules of our church. You've probably heard me say them before. They say this: first, we seek to do no harm. Then we seek to do good. Then we stay in love with God. Do no harm, do good, stay in love with God. As you go forward, guys, let that be your guide. Let that be your foundation. Because the truth is, we don't know what the days, the weeks, the months ahead are going to look like. But we do know that things are going to be different. And we're going to need to grieve what's been lost. And so as things continue to become more uncertain in this season, I hope you'll remember the words of this story. Do not be afraid. Stand firm and see the deliverance that the Lord will accomplish for you today. Thanks for listening today, and we really look forward to seeing you in live stream worship on Sunday.